Did you know about the Alcatraz escape, the most famous prison break in American history? It took place in June 1962 at Alcatraz prison and was carried out by 3 inmates, Frank Morris and the brothers John and Clarence Anglin. Alcatraz prison was located on a small island in San Francisco Bay, surrounded by the treacherous waters of the Pacific Ocean, and was considered one of the most secure prisons in the world, with 6 strategically placed guard towers, 20-foot-high barbed wire fences, and strict inmate management rules that made escape seem impossible. Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers were sent to Alcatraz after multiple escape attempts from various prisons. Among them, Morris was a notorious criminal with an IQ of 133 and was believed to be the mastermind behind the escape. They devised a highly detailed and meticulous escape plan, which involved digging a secret passageway from their cells using crude tools such as metal spoons and toothbrushes. They created fake heads from soap, newspaper, and real hair to place on their beds to deceive the guards. They even crafted an inflatable raft and some life vests from prison raincoats to cross San Francisco Bay. After the escape, the police and FBI investigated, but found no trace of them. Many theories suggest they drowned while attempting to cross the bay, but there are also rumors that they survived and are hiding somewhere.
Hey, my name is John Anglin. I escaped from Alcatraz in June of 1962. Yes, all of us managed to escape that night, but it was by the skin of our teeth.
They were outlaws. The impossible escape from Alcatraz. What are you doing with your life? Have you ever stopped to think about how much you are truly living your life to the fullest? I'm not talking about living on autopilot, waiting for the next opportunity or dragging yourself through the days. I'm talking about living, and I'm not saying this as any motivational speech. I'm saying it with the urgency of someone who has seen the impossible become possible, because if there's one lesson from the story of Alcatraz, it's that the impossible only exists for those who settle, for those who accept the prison of mediocrity. Alcatraz was a place where no one should ever escape. Surrounded by cold, deep waters, guarded by wardens, impenetrable. But in 1962, 3 men proved something that few dared to believe. That the greatest enemy of freedom is not the system, but the fear of trying. I want to know from you, what is holding you back from living your life to the fullest? If you're ready to face what limits you, comment below, I'm ready to fight, and like this video. Let's show the world that there is no prison when you decide to break free. The impossible prison, challenging your limits. Alcatraz wasn't just a physical prison, it was a symbol. A place where any hope of escape seemed absurd. What makes a prison so inescapable are not the walls, but the limits we create in our minds. We are all surrounded by some form of prison, and most of us settle for it. It's easier to accept that we are trapped than to fight for freedom, whether emotional, financial, or professional. The real prison isn't in the walls. It's in our minds. What makes Alcatraz so symbolic is that it represents everything society tries to impose on us. Human limitation doesn't come from what others say, but from what we allow ourselves to believe. Now I want to ask you, what is your prison? What is holding you back? If you want to break free and achieve what you've always dreamed, write "I am free" in the comments. And if you're still in doubt, like this video, because the first step to freedom is recognizing that you can do more. The 3 men: planning, courage, and creativity. Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin were ordinary men, but with something extraordinary. The courage to fight against the impossible. When most of us look at the circumstances and think, "I can't do it," these 3 men looked at the impossible and said, "I will do it." They didn't have resources, they didn't have support, but what they did have was a plan. And you know what else they had? The most powerful of resources: time. They spent months digging a tunnel without anyone knowing. Using makeshift tools, they challenged the system that believed no one could ever escape. They didn't have everything, but they had something crucial: persistence. These men didn't accept the situation. They decided they would change their fate no matter what. And I ask you, are you doing the same in your life? Comment below. I am the creator of my freedom, and like this video to show that you won't wait for things to happen anymore. You will make it happen. The big challenge: overcoming fear. The night of the escape arrived. The prisoners were ready to escape, but the greatest obstacle wasn't the wall of Alcatraz nor the tunnel they had dug. The greatest obstacle was fear. They were facing the unknown, and what scares a human being the most is precisely what they don't know, what they can't control. The fear of failure, the fear of trying, the fear of falling. But the three prisoners threw themselves into the night. They surrendered to the unknown. And that's how true success happens. You never know exactly what will happen, but you have to take the leap. They knew that once they left the prison, there was no turning back. And I ask you again, what is stopping you from taking the first step? Will fear paralyze you, or will you swim toward the unknown, just as these men did? Comment below. I face my fears and share this video with someone who needs this motivation. The escape and legacy, persistence, mental strength, and success. The escape from Alcatraz left an eternal mark. But the legacy is not just in the fact that they escaped. It's in how they escaped. They didn't give up when things seemed lost. They didn't allow the prison, the cold waters, and the fear to defeat them. They knew that if they persisted, they would have a chance to win. And they took that chance with everything they had. The real lesson from the escape of Alcatraz is not about escaping a physical prison, but about escaping the prison you've built in your own mind. They teach us one thing: if you don't give up, nothing will stop you. Not the greatest obstacles, not the fear of failure. They didn't give up. And what we need to understand is that you too can overcome any prison. True freedom is not escaping a cell, but the freedom to live without limits, without fear. If you believe this, like the video now and comment below, I am free. Let's make this freedom something collective, not just physical, but mental. The legacy of freedom. True escape was not just physical. It was mental. It was an escape from the limits imposed by the system. An escape from the invisible chains trying to hold us back. Life, my friends, is a battleground between the fear of trying and the courage to continue. But remember, freedom starts inside of you. Alcatraz wasn't just a prison for the three escapees, but a training ground for each of us. The fight for freedom is constant, and only those who truly want to break their chains will achieve true liberation. Now it's your turn. What are you going to do to break free? Don't wait for a perfect opportunity. Comment below, like, share, and remember, true freedom is in your hands. In addition to the fugitives, 3 other prisoners gave their accounts. They are William G. Baker, a former Alcatraz inmate, described his memories of the prison as an experience of mental confinement as much as physical confinement. He talks about the feeling of being almost invisible to the other prisoners and how he tried to find some form of freedom within the limits of the prison. The hardest part wasn't the harsh work routine or the tough physical conditions, but the mental prison, being confined in a place where his mind no longer had space to be free. And Charlie Hopkins, the last prisoner to live in Alcatraz, recalls how creativity was essential to maintain his sanity. He talks about how, even while isolated and with few resources, he managed to find small moments of mental freedom through small inventions and thoughts that made him believe that the prison would not be his final sentence. This is something that the 1962 escapees also took advantage of. Freedom starts in the mind before it becomes physical. However, Ken Widner, nephew of the escapees John and Clarence Anglin, shared how he believes fear was the greatest enemy of the escape, but also the greatest motivation. He explains that, despite knowing the slim chances of success, his uncles faced fear not only of failure, but of living a life without ever trying. Now let me tell you 10 secret facts about Alcatraz. Alcatraz once housed a military prison before becoming a federal penitentiary. Before it became the infamous maximum security prison, Alcatraz was a military outpost. The fort was constructed in 1850, shortly after California became a state, to protect the San Francisco Bay during the Civil War. It was only later, in 1934, that it was converted into the prison that became internationally renowned. The waters surrounding Alcatraz were perilous and famous for sinking boats. The currents around the island were so strong that many believed no one could escape by swimming. Numerous prisoners attempted to escape and drowned, mainly due to the frigid waters of San Francisco Bay and the treacherous currents. The Black Dolphin of Alcatraz. While the prison was known for its security, there was a legend among prisoners. Those who attempted to escape were taken to the Black Dolphin Cave, a punishment cell that was completely dark, with no windows and extreme sensory deprivation. This is a little-known myth, but many prisoners feared this cave. The prison's surveillance system was one of the best technologies of the time. Alcatraz was equipped with cutting-edge surveillance and communication systems for its era, including telephones and lights that allowed constant monitoring. Guards monitored every movement of prisoners through cameras and discreet listening devices, ensuring that any escape attempt was swiftly detected. The prison hosted famous inmates like Al Capone and George "Machine Gun" Kelly. Some of the most notorious criminals of the time, like mobster Al Capone and bank robber George "Machine Gun" Kelly, spent time at Alcatraz, where the harsh prison conditions mentally and physically wore them down. Prisoners who gained access to the work program could earn privileges. Unlike other prisons, prisoners at Alcatraz who agreed to work, such as in the kitchen or general services, could earn better conditions, such as more freedom within the island. However, this did not mean that surveillance was eased. The famous 1962 escape is still a mystery. The escape of Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers, John and Clarence, is one of the most well-known. However, to this day, no one knows for sure whether they survived the escape. Some believe they drowned, while others believe they managed to escape and start a new life. Alcatraz had a violent rebellion in 1946. In 1946, one of the most violent events in Alcatraz's history occurred, known as the Alcatraz Rebellion. A group of prisoners rebelled against the guards, taking hostages and causing deaths, before the situation was resolved with violence. This event became a key part of how the prison was considered one of the most secure and tightly controlled. The prison was shut down in 1963 due to high operational costs. Despite its notoriety for security and efforts to control the prisoners, Alcatraz was officially closed in 1963 due to high operational costs. The prison could never financially sustain itself, compounded by maintenance issues due to salt corrosion and constant humidity. Alcatraz became a symbol of indigenous resistance in the 1970s. After the prison's closure, Alcatraz became a site of resistance for Native American peoples who occupied the island in 1969 to protest the US government's policies. This movement lasted until 1971 and was a pivotal moment in the fight for Native American rights. And also 10 conspiracy theories about Alcatraz. The 1962 escapees never died and managed to escape. One of the most popular theories is that Frank Morris, John, and Clarence Anglin, the escapees from 1962, didn't die as believed. Some claim they successfully escaped and lived new lives under false identities, with reports suggesting they were seen years later in various places, including Brazil. Al Capone's death was fake. While Al Capone supposedly died from complications due to syphilis in 1947, some theories suggest he didn't die, and that the government hid his death to prevent him from becoming a public figure again. Some speculate that Capone might have been kept in secret in a maximum security prison until his real death. Alcatraz guards knew about escapes and were complicit. There are speculations that some of the guards at Alcatraz were aware of the escape plans, or even helped prisoners escape by providing tips or hiding their movements. Some believe the guards were paid off or received favors in exchange for their collaboration with the escape attempts. Alcatraz Island is cursed. Another theory suggests that Alcatraz Island is haunted by the spirits of prisoners who died or disappeared there. There have been reports of paranormal phenomena, such as unexplained sounds and mysterious figures seen in the windows of the old prison, indicating that the souls of the prisoners never found peace. The 1962 escape was organized by the government. Some believe that the famous 1962 escape involving Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers was a staged operation orchestrated by the US government to test a new security system or even send the escapees on a secret mission. The theory suggests that they never actually left the island. The escapees were found on a nearby island. A more recent theory suggests that the escapees managed to cross the San Francisco Bay, but were caught on a nearby island. It's believed that the government covered up the case to protect the image of Alcatraz and prevent other prisoners from attempting the same escape. Alcatraz hid government secrets. Some people believe that Alcatraz was used as a site for conducting secret government experiments, such as mind control tests or psychiatric experiments on prisoners. The idea is that Alcatraz wasn't just a prison, but also a laboratory for clandestine experiments. The 1946 rebellion was a cover-up for something bigger. During the 1946 rebellion, a group of prisoners took hostages and caused deaths. Some theorists believe that the rebellion was planned to cover up a larger secret involving the prisoners, or even a greater conspiracy, such as the use of prisoners in secret military experiments. Alcatraz has secret tunnels that no one knows about. There are rumors that Alcatraz had a secret network of underground tunnels that connected different areas of the prison to points outside the island. Some believe that prisoners knew about these tunnels, but could never fully explore them due to the extreme surveillance. The government hid records of successful escapes. One of the conspiracy theories is that the US government holds records of prisoners who successfully escaped from Alcatraz. But these records were erased or kept secret to avoid compromising the security of other prisons and the prison system in general. Thank you for watching this far.
Hey, wait, love the video? Smash that like button, leave a comment, and share it with your awesome friends. Didn't like it? No worries, send it to your enemies. Catch you in the next one. Bye.